Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Ve'asuli mikdash ve'shachanti betocham ve'asuli mikdash ve'shachanti betocham. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Shabbat Shalom. I am Cantor Amanda Kleinman, joined in the leadership of this evening's service by WRT's cantorial intern, Isaac Sonnet Asor. You'll be hearing not only beautiful music from Isaac tonight, but also beautiful words of Torah. And we're looking forward to hearing from you a little bit later in our service, Isaac. I began our service this evening with some words from this week's Torah portion. Ve'asuli mikdash v'shachanti betocham. Build for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them. In this week's Torah portion, God commands the Israelites to build a portable sanctuary in the wilderness. And this line in our Torah portion resonates with me as I stand here in WRT's sanctuary. It's a bittersweet moment for me, sweet in that I am able to be here in this place that is so beloved to me and so cherished by so many members of our congregation, and bitter, of course, because I am standing here alone. Our Torah portion, though, offers us some words of comfort in the words that I started our service with, Ve'asuli mikdash v'shachanti betocham. God commands the Israelites, build me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. So it seems as though God would say, build me a sanctuary so that I can dwell in it. But instead, God says, build me a sanctuary so that I can dwell among them. That's a reminder from God to us that God doesn't dwell in places, but God dwells among them. God dwells among all of us, among all people who gather together for a sacred purpose. And so as we gather together this evening to welcome Shabbat, we certainly know that God is among us. At the end of a cold and snowy week, it is a very welcome transition to light the candles of Shabbat, to bring a little bit of light and a little bit of warmth at the end of a cold week. And so at this time, I will light our Shabbat candles. If you have Shabbat candles in your home, I would invite you to join me in lighting them as well. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu
Our portion this week marks a major turning point in the Israelites' story. Moses receives the blueprint of the Mishkan, the portable dwelling place for God, and the Israelites, who once built for Pharaoh, now choose to accept their identity as God's treasured people. Each week, as we receive the Shabbat Queen with these opening royal psalms, as we call them, we reaffirm this choice. By welcoming Shabbat, we remind ourselves that we are not slaves. We celebrate that we are free people, that the source of life has given us souls in need of rest and restoration. And so let us take a deep breath together and welcome in Shabbat. With these words, Lechu Neranena, let us sing a song of joy to God together. Lechu Neranena l'Adonai, Naria letzur yishenu. Lechu Neranena l'Adonai, Naria letzur yishenu. Mekadma פניו בתודה, בזמירות נריע לו. מקדמה פניו בתודה, בזמירות נריע לו. לכו נרננה לאדוני, Let us sing to God with the violin, with all sorts of song, with trumpets, with shofars, with everything we can to sing. All the instruments that used to make music in the Mishkan, later in the temple. We can imagine all these instruments together. If you are together with others in your home, I hope you can have a little choir, a little orchestra together. These words, Zamru l'Adonai bechinor. Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, בחצוצרות וקול שופר. הריעו לפני המלך אדוני, ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בה. נהרות ימחאו כף יחד, הרים ורננו. זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור וקול זמרה, בחצוצרות וקול שופר. הריעו לפני המלך אדוני, ירם Shabbat bride. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המאוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ולך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. ולך שבת נקבלה. ולך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. ולך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ולך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. At this time you may rise and face the door to officially welcome in the Shabbat bride, the Shabbat queen. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. ולך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ולך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We'll continue with the rest of our evening service with the words Baruch Hu, You may rise if you wish to do so. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. We continue with the blessing for God's eternal love, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu, uvkumeinu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha leolam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem negei yomam v'layla, negei yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavatcha al tasir, mimenu leolamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha, vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha, veshinantam levanecha ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We continue now with Mi Chamocha, our people's song of freedom. Mi Chamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha, Neder ba'kodesh, Nora Tehilo, Osef Eleh, Nora Tehilo, Osef Eleh, Malchutecha ra'u banecha, Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'eli, anu ve'amenu, Adonai imlo, le'olam va'ed, Adonai imlo, le'olam va'ed. נאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, לעל ישראל. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et haShabbat. La'asot et haShabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein bnei Yisrael oti leolam leolam. Ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, uvayom hashevi shavat vayinafash. Uvayom hashevi shavat vayinafash. Adonai sefatai tiftach, ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor veHanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geulah livnei bneihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Hozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashif haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim berofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha bocha bal gevurot, umidomela, Melech meimit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim bechol yom yehalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please take these next few moments to pray silently.
Upon entering a synagogue, we are taught to recite the words, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishknotecha Yisrael. How beautiful are your tents, people of Jacob, your dwelling places, people of Israel. At the end of the poem, we add on these words, Va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon, Elohim berov chasadecha, Aneni be'emet yishecha. May my prayer reach you, God, at the right moment. In your limitless kindness, answer me with the light of your salvation. Wherever your dwelling place may be, may you find the internal quiet to hear the truest words of your heart. And may you find the answer to your heart's prayer. Va'ani tefilati Do you ever catch yourself saying, I will do it when I have time. I will finish that book. I will learn French. I will, in my case, start running again. How often do we imagine a more fulfilling future when we will have met our deadlines, when we will focus on what really matters, our relationships, our pastimes and passion projects, our physical, mental, and spiritual health? These days in particular, I find myself focusing on such a not too distant horizon. It seems that every news platform is publishing articles on how our public health crisis will sooner or later come to an end. For the very first time in a long while, I hear friends and family speaking about the future, about planning weddings with a guest list beyond the immediate family. There is a tentative daring to begin to speak about our strange, not so new way of life as a temporary wilderness from which we can imagine emerging. The present circumstances can feel so distressing. We worry deeply for our family and our friends in Texas, in Oklahoma, and Louisiana, many of whom still lack heat and safe drinking water. Concerns about more contagious viral variants amplify our ongoing fears. I catch myself wanting to fast forward, to wish away this undefined period standing between now and that safe horizon when I can hug my family and my friends again. In all honesty, who hasn't made this same wish? This week, we read the portion Terumah, the beginning of the closing segment of the book of Exodus, the 16 chapters detailing the construction of the Mishkan, the portable dwelling for God, which the Israelites carried through the wilderness on the way to the promised land. According to that text, this was a massive, extravagant structure assembled from precious, freely offered gifts, or terumot, provided by the newly freed children of Israel. Gifts of gold and silver and copper, vibrant yarns, fine linens, ram and dolphin skins, acacia wood, oils, spices, incense, and precious stones. The structure and its furniture and utensils were divinely intricate. Rashi notes that Moses himself had difficulty making sense of God's instructions. The historical truth of the mythic Mishkan has long been debated by biblical scholars. Could it really have been possible for this newly freed nation to construct and transport this structure even as they faced the threat of hostile peoples and often lacked water to drink? Most scholars say that the Mishkan was a retrospective projection, imagined by later priests in biblical Jerusalem as the predecessor to the first and second temples. Others note that there was a precedent for giant mobile shrines in the ancient Near East, often built from acacia wood and ram skins, just as the Bible declares. In any case, scholars generally agree that the wandering Israelites couldn't possibly have possessed the vast array of choice gifts that they freely gave as terumot for the sake of their God's dwelling. While we read that the Israelites took silver, gold, and clothing from their Egyptian neighbors during their hasty exodus, there is no clear answer as to where they acquired the yarns and precious stones, let alone the dolphin skins. There is a piece of me that wants to imagine the glorious Mishkan erected in the desert, decorated with the splendor of priceless materials, the cloud of God's presence descending upon it. This image fills me with pride. having begun the book of Exodus as slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, our mythic ancestors have become truly free people. As the great German Jewish theologian Franz Rosenzweig notes, they have gone from laboring for a tyrant to giving freely to their own God. This is certainly a clean, made-for-Hollywood ending to the Exodus story. And yet, what if we allow ourselves to imagine an alternative image? What if, for want of precious stones, the Israelites bring treasured homemade jewelry handed down through generations? What if, in place of the finest linens, they give the cloths with which they carried their babies through the sea on dry land? A Mishkan constructed from the most precious gifts the Israelites can provide, remembered by all future generations to come as a royal palace. Even though I can concede that the Israelites may have lacked some or even many of the materials needed to realize God's divine blueprint, I still find myself asking why God commanded the Mishkan's construction in the first place. Couldn't this project wait until the Israelites were settled in their new home, safe from the dangers of the wilderness? If the Israelites had traveled on, temporarily free from the obligation to make offerings to God, without this tremendous physical burden to weigh them down, surely they would have arrived sooner. Perhaps an entire generation of Israelites would not need to have died before the people would reach their destination. And yet, just as soon as I ask this question, I'm reminded that the Mishkan was constructed entirely of free will offerings. God says to Moses, "From each individual whose heart moves them to give, you shall accept my gifts." The Israelites had only just accepted God's covenant. They could not simply defer this new life. They needed to begin here and now in the wilderness, to have God dwell among them, so that they might learn to walk in God's ways. The way of life they would cultivate in this transitionary period would lay the groundwork for Israelite society within the Promised Land, when the temporary, fragile Mishkan would become the fixed temple of stone. If temple service were to begin only when the Israelites were settled comfortably, they might never have learned to worship at all. Even with the proper foundation established in the wilderness, the biblical kingdoms of Israel and Judah would later collapse under the weight of injustice, greed, and a lack of gratitude. Early on in the pandemic, when none of us had any idea how long our frightening new world would last, it seems like everyone I know was working on a quarantine hobby, whether a rediscovered passion or something completely new and unexpected. Then, as the strange became normal, as it became increasingly difficult to imagine an ending, many of us, myself included, have felt a struggle to maintain our motivation, our creativity, our energy. In recent weeks, despite the obstacles and setbacks to vaccine distribution and real fears about variants to the virus, scientists and public health officials maintain that there is a clear light at the end of this long path we walk together. While we emerge slowly and gradually, we will nonetheless emerge. The question that lies before us is how we will use our time now as we continue to walk through our wilderness. Our ancestors have taught us that life does not begin once we have arrived on the other side of uncertainty, as we have all experienced firsthand throughout the past year. As the Israelites prepared to leave Mount Sinai, the tablets of the covenant in tow, their hearts moved them to give their dearest possessions to the building of the Mishkan, so that life could begin in the wilderness, even if that life would be costly and burdensome. Later, the rabbis of the Talmud taught that future generations must contribute to the Mishkan. How then can we continue to build it in our own time? The Israelites' example can teach us to commit ourselves to our most essential purposes at this very moment, even as we keep an eye toward the future. What would your heart move you to do if you had all the time in the world? What, perhaps, have you been putting off for when life really begins? May we follow in the footsteps of our ancestors. May we all give the best we have to offer in whichever ways we can, even though we may feel that our lives are restricted. If we can establish giving as a practice of habit now, when our world is at its most challenging moment, we will sow seeds for a better future, when our Mishkan of scarcity becomes a temple of abundance. When we look back on the Mishkan that we have constructed together, may we remember it as one of fine yarns, linens, and gold. Shabbat Shalom.
Dr. Koach, Isaac. As Isaac mentioned in this week's Torah portion, the Israelites are invited to contribute gifts to the building of the tabernacle, yarns, fine stones, and precious metals. Sometimes, though, the greatest gift that we can give is the gift of our love and the gift of our prayer. And so as we prepare to recite the words of the Mishaberach together, we think of all of those who are in need of healing, all of those for whom the knowledge that a loving community such as this one is praying for them, sending them love and strength, is a source of hope and a source of healing. Our community thinks of Ezra Yardain ben Harav Elkanah Leib ve'Harabah Eliana Leah, Anthony and Elizabeth Danker, Mordechai ben Yaakov, Raleigh Koran, Deborah Kapnick, Nicole Shusi, Neil Glaskall, Joshua Gendel, Andrea Reiner, Chaim ben Sipora, Masha Batsora, Leah Greenspan, Aviva Tsiela bat Esther Bela, Dan Sokoloff, Jeffrey Millman, Cheryl Brickman, Chava Batsara, Eliyahu Chaim ben Fredel, Sheila Freed, Tanya Romanoff, Yitzchak Yona ben May, Malka Tzipora bas Rachel, Tamar bat Malka, Heschel Meir bat ben David Achana, David Ze'ev ben Fruma Etel, Mark Wolf, Shai Aviad ben Balfora, and Alter Shmuel ben Chava Leah. Please feel free to add in your own home or to hold in your hearts the names of anyone you are thinking of who is in need of healing, as together we sing the words of the Mishaberach. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha lavo bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Our concluding prayers begin with Aleinu. Please rise. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. As we prepare to recite the words of the mourner's Kaddish, I'd like to invite all of those in our community who are in a period of mourning, whether you are in the first 7 days following the loss of your loved one, the first 30 days, the first year, or whether this Shabbat marks the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the loss of your loved one, to please rise. This Shabbat, our WRT community remembers those taken from us in recent weeks. Jay Meltzer, father of Amy Meltzer, Mark Meltzer, and Daniel Meltzer, and brother of Lawrence Meltzer. Philip Friedman, father of Marcy Cohen. Libby Root, mother of Scott Sontag. Irene Moore Corman, mother of Michael Moore, wife of Ron Corman, and sister of Joyce Podolak and Mark Goldstein. Peter Haller, husband of Lauren Haller, father of Liam, Olivia, and Isabel Haller, son of Pauline and Eric Haller, and brother of Lori Esty, David Haller, and Andrea Haller. Paul Rabinowitz, father of David Rabin. Sylvia Alderman, mother of Ziggy Alderman. Sandra Gershman, mother of Karen Klein. Stuart David Byron, father of Linda Byron Glucksman and Lisa Joan Bernstein. Joel Sachs, father of Lori Harrison. We remember too those whose Yahrzeit are commemorated this Shabbat: Myron Birnbaum, Abraham Block, Bertha Pepperbloom, Patricia Kaplan Bowen, Carol Robinson, Gilbert Brooks, Edith Brown, Ruth Chamlin, Harry Corlin, Sydney Dubner, Belle Ecker, Steve Faust, Faye Finkelstein, Julia Forchheimer, Harold Stoyer, Jeffrey Frankel, Maria Frankel, Rose Glickman, Ruth Goldberg, Milton Goldstein, Ann B. Kossar, Sandy Greenberg, Harold Gross, Samuel Gross, Alan Kay, Ruth Korek, Ida Kotowitz, Walter Last, Gertrude Levine, Rose Levine, Ann P. Levy, Sandra Lewis, Hans Lorch, Connie Master, Philip Meyerson, Hannah Miller, Zelma Moss, Sarah Narvaez, Jan Peter Nybaum, Janet Perloff, Harry Prince, Morris Radoff, Meyer Rose, Louis Rosenberg, Carol R. Rosenthal, Wilhelm Rosenzweig, Chester Ross, Renee Rubin, Rosabelle Rutstein, Felix Safian, Nora Schick, Josette Schnitzer, Oscar Schur, Saul Schuckman, Irving Siegel, Glenn Silverman, Murray Steyer, Israel Strager, Charles Tallons, Warren Tanner, Wolf Temkin, Lester E. Tombach, Seymour Wallerstein, Charles Weinberg, Harry Weinstein, Lillian Weiss, Dorothy Witter, Francis Lee Zelikovsky-Horn. And please feel free to add names to our commemoration at this time. We say Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for an enduring blessing, as together we recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ule'almei almayah. Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Usually at this time, I would say that I have a few announcements, but as anybody who has read our weekly e-blast would know, this week I have a lot of announcements. There's a lot going on at WRT in the coming weeks. I'll share just a few highlights, but I would highly encourage you to take a look at your e-blast because there's some really, really amazing programming coming up at WRT. Past Thursday, February 18th, as well as next Tuesday, February 23rd at 2 p.m. I would encourage you to join us for a series called Great Israeli Poets by Professor Dr. Rachel Korazim, a truly amazing Israeli scholar who has joined us as scholar in residence at WRT in the past, and who is offering this wonderful series in which WRT is participating. In addition, tomorrow, I'm going out of order. I hope that you will join us for Torah study at 9 a.m. You can find the Zoom link in your e-blast. It's really a wonderful opportunity with a lovely group of people to have a chance to pray together, to spend time together in community, and to study a little bit about this week's Torah portion. Rabbi Reeser's Racial Justice Working Group is resuming its reading group discussions this coming Monday, February 22nd at 7:30 p.m. Really a wonderful group of people coming together to discuss some of the most important topics of our time. And so I would encourage you to join that as well. And on Thursday, February 25th in the morning, Rabbi Levy is going to be leading a virtual walking tour of Jerusalem's Machane Yehuda market. It's also called the Shuk. The sort of neighborhood almost in Israel, full of fresh fruits and vegetables and baked goods, and my mouth is watering just thinking about it. It's been too long since I've been to Israel. And then next weekend is WRT's sort of Purim extravaganza. It kicks off on Thursday with a Hamantashen making opportunity, which should be a lot of fun. On Friday, we have two opportunities to celebrate Purim. One in the later part of the afternoon for the youngest members of our community. And then we have our main service will take place as usual at 6:15, and we'll feature Purim fun, including some really, really wonderful Purim videos that were created by some very talented members of our congregation. Following the Purim service, we'll be having an event that is called Pour Some Purim on Me, which is an opportunity to make some cocktails together with the clergy team. We'll have alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages being made. I'm told that I'm in charge of the Shirley Temple, so I'll work on my Shirley Temple skills between now and next weekend. And then on Sunday, we will have our Purim Palooza, which is going to be a drive-through Purim celebration that our JLL staff and our clergy team have been working hard on. It should be a lot of fun. You can read about it in our e-blast as well as in the communications from the JLL, but a very creative, very fun way for all of us to get to celebrate Purim together. And finally, I would ask you to mark your calendars for a few weeks down the road. Friday, March 12th, the clergy team will be helping our congregation mark the year since COVID began. And we'll be taking an opportunity to sort of ritualize that moment and to think together and to reflect on the impact that this year has had on ourselves and on our community. I think it'll be a very meaningful way for us to mark a time that's been a little bit difficult for us to define. So we hope that you'll join us on Friday evening, March 12th. And now we will continue with the words of Kiddush. If you have a cup of wine, please raise it with mine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ava u'vratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava u'vratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat l'chaim. And we'll conclude by singing Motzi together, and then Isaac and I will look forward to greeting all of those who will be joining us for our oneg this evening. Together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.